A question a lot of people are asking right now: can the Razorback football team repeat what they did last year again this year? We'll talk about what that means. Also, get into some preseason SEC men's basketball predictions, as those are coming out today live from SEC Media Days, and also some nonsensical fun here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Sweatblock. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweatblock. Save 20% with promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday as we are still here live from SEC Media Days. Just trying to break it all down and get into all the stuff that is going on here, and it's frigid here also in Birmingham, Alabama. So it's been quite the experience, though, quite a lot of fun, and it's going to be coming to an end today, which we'll get to hear from Eric Musselman, which I know we'll have some things tomorrow to talk about from us, and also today when it comes to predictions and everything. But first, a thing that has been kind of thrown around with Razorback football, because I wanted to kind of go back to that, is you're entering into the bye week, and honestly, it's nothing that's too crazy for you. I mean, every team enters into a bye week. Every team goes through this. It's not like anything's just absurd or that new or anything like that. But overall, it's what's needed for this team. Like, everybody needs a bye week. Everybody needs time to reflect and get back to business the way they're supposed to. But some teams always need it more than others, and Arkansas is definitely one of those teams that desperately needs it right now. And so I started thinking about like the different, elements of, what that means and why they need this bye week so much. And I keep reflecting back on last year. Like, I keep going back to last year and just trying to compare the two, trying to say this is why this is going to happen, because it's the same thing, which I don't know if that's the right way of doing it, but it's the way I've been doing it. I have been saying, okay, well, let's see. They are entering into this final stretch of the season with this record at 4-3. They have very winnable games in front of them. Also, a few toss-up games. They have one really tough game left. And it's almost similar to what it was last year, because last year, down the stretch, you had some winnable games, some games that were toss-ups, and then you had one tough game. Last year was Alabama on the road. This year is Ole Miss at home, which I think is an easier game, obviously, than what it was last year with Bama. And so the question becomes, can Arkansas repeat what they did last year? When they were 4-3, they finished the season 8-4. They finished the season 4-1. Can the Razorbacks do that once again this year, this season? Finish 4-1. And honestly, folks, I'm at the point where I'm like, not only do I think that they can, I think that they will. I think that they will finish at worst 4-1 down the stretch. And if you just think about the games that they have in front of them, all right, Auburn on the road will be your first one up after the bye week. Auburn can't score. They're not a good offensive team, which bodes well for a Razorback team. And if they can just get everybody healthy that they can, that should be a winnable game. Like, Auburn's not a good football team. They're about to fire their coach. You should not have lost to them last year, so get a little revenge this year. You haven't won at Auburn since 2012 with John L. Smith. So it kind of tells you how long it's been. But you need to win that game, and I think you will. And then you think about, playing Liberty. You should win that game no matter what. It's at home. And then you think about the LSU Ole Miss stretch, where I believe that you'll go 1-1 in those games, no matter what. I know it'll be a tough go, but no matter what, because Ole Miss is a really good offensive team, and LSU's got some athletes. But at home, I think you'll go 1-1 there. You may even go 2-0. Ole Miss, there's still some stuff going on there where their defense can't stop anybody. They haven't played. The only quality team they played this year was Kentucky, and Kentucky should have beaten them like twice on the road. So, and they're going to get into their bulk of their difficult schedule. So I think Arkansas is going to catch them at the exact right time, where they're going between Alabama and a team like Alabama A&M is going to be in there. LSU is going to be in there for them. Mississippi State's going to be in there for them. So all their toughest games are going to be right there in the stretch. You catch them at the right time. So you could go 2-0. And at Missouri, I think you win because you're a better team. So overall, my point is that I believe that you can do that. You can go in and you can go 4-1. And if you go 8-4 this year, I think most people would say, okay, it's the same record as last year. Kind of the same conference record as last year. But considering where you were and how you finished, you got some momentum. But imagine going 9-3, which I think is still a legit possibility. You could win all of these games. I mean, obviously, you'd have to be healthy. You have to play your best football. But your toughest games are at home. And the road games that you have are against opponents that you are superior over. So it's possible. If everything goes your way, it is possible. But I think they can absolutely change it up and absolutely do the things that are needed to make it happen. Folks, I got to tell you about Sweat Block. That's something that I know it's getting colder outside, but even when it's cold, people are out here sweating. And over the summertime, I know that there was a lot of people sweating outside. And the thing is that we don't like that. We don't like having the embarrassing sweat glands just that are pouring out on our shirts, and it ruins our shirts and makes them look terrible. Like we don't want to do that. And I know none of you want to do that either. And luckily, Sweat Block is here to help you and help us all with all of our sweat problems that we have. It was created by a doctor to help with his own excessive sweating. And it is a doctor created and doctor recommended. So if you or somebody you know is experiencing bad sweat or odor, try Sweat Block. You can save 20% with the promo code locked on at sweatblock.com. And it's also available on Amazon as well. It's tough goes for all of us out there, folks. I get it. And, when we're trying to be active, especially in the gym and, trying to do our things too, got to avoid it. Use Sweat Block. It works. It helps. It will be a life-changing and a game-changing thing, not only for you, but for all of your shirts out there. So that way they don't look ruined and drenched every single time. So try Sweat Block and use promo code locked on for 20% off.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so continuing on with the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, it came out today that the Razorbacks in basketball, I guess as I say, we're here at SEC Media Days for basketball, came out and they were voted the number 2 team in the SEC preseason. So Kentucky obviously being number 1, there's no surprise there because it is Kentucky. And, of course, if you think about all of the, pomp and circumstance that they get, they're going to be right there into the mix. And I honestly think that Arkansas will be a better team than Kentucky. I do. I think Kentucky and Calipari and all that, for whatever reason, they have good regular seasons. And then sometimes, because if you think about 2020, Kentucky was awful. Last year, Kentucky was good, but then they got beat in the first round of the tournament. So this year is a kind of a do or die thing for Kentucky. And so they're number 1. Everyone's going to vote them number 1 because it is Kentucky. But Arkansas is number 2. You have Tennessee at 3, Auburn 4, Alabama 5, A&M 6, Florida 7, LSU 8, Ole Miss 9, Mississippi State 10, Missouri 11, Vanderbilt 12, Georgia 13, and South Carolina 14. Now, one of the best things about this is your 3 permanent opponents that you play each and every year, A&M, LSU, and Missouri, are 6, 8, and 11 respectively. So that gives you a pretty good idea of you could be a team that, not saying you sweep them, but certainly could do some damage there too. You play Alabama twice and Kentucky twice. Those are some big ones. You play Tennessee once. You play Auburn once. So those are good for you at least. But even though that maybe a road game in there that may be tough. But yeah, so you got a good setup of it. You got a good schedule of it all as far as winnable games. And it makes sense as to why they picked you number 2. But doesn't it just feel good again, Razorback fans? Doesn't it just feel great to have the established order back where it's none of this nonsense about, okay, well, Auburn's picked here, Alabama. Order is being restored when you have Kentucky and Arkansas as the top 2 teams in the SEC, because really those are the top 2 programs in the SEC. And honestly, I don't think anybody should ever have an argument with that. I know people are just because here's the thing that always cracks me up when I remember bringing this up. And someone be like, "Oh, Florida has more national championships than Arkansas does." Bleh. Okay, as I have said many times before, and I'm going to say it again, they had a Hall of Fame coach. They had 1. Billy Donovan made Florida. Florida did not make Billy Donovan. There was not a program that had electric atmospheres and electric history before and since. That's not a big time program. What is a big time program? I've always felt like if you want to look at what can you call a legitimate, I don't call it a blue blood because I still think that's a class within its own. But when you're talking about the best programs, I feel like you have to have multiple Hall of Fame coaches, where it wasn't just one coach who was there who made you into a program. You had to have multiple coaches there in your program that took you to heights. And I think Arkansas definitely is one of those with Eddie Sutton and Nolan Richardson, obviously. And with Muss right now, we'll see how, obviously he's got a lot of career ahead of him. He could end up being a Hall of Fame coach. You could talk about 3 coaches being right there. So, and Kentucky's one of those programs as well. Not many other programs can say that. And so that's why I feel like it's great to have Arkansas at number 2, even though, again, I think they're better than Kentucky. I think Arkansas still can win the SEC. And again, we have to get to the regular season. It's tough. It's a tough grind. But I still think Arkansas could be the better team this year. So you got that. And also when it comes to the first team all SEC, the only all SEC player you have is Nick Smith. He was voted first team all SEC alongside Colin Castleton, which I forgot he's at Florida. Gosh, that guy's annoying. Xavier Wheeler from Kentucky, Santiago Vescovi from Tennessee. Can't believe he's still there too. I can't, like, some of these guys, I'm just like, what are y'all doing? And then Oscar Tshiebwe was voted the SEC men's basketball preseason player of the year. Well, he camps out in the lane. I'm sure he'll do just fine. And then second team selections were Brandon Miller from Bama, Javon Quinterly from Bama, KJ Williams from LSU, Josiah Jordan James from Tennessee, and Zakai Ziegler from Tennessee. So it's funny because essentially of the top 5 teams in the SEC, only one player is not listed as far as the top 5. Or no, is it all? Yeah, Colin Castleton is the only player that's not from a top 5 team prediction in the SEC. It's almost like the better players end up getting more of the run. Who would have guessed? That's crazy. Wow, crazy talk. So, but I still think Razorbacks will do well. I still think it'll go down and do really good things this year too. And I'm just excited to get the season going. That is for sure. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain and correct that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team and for much faster. Anytime you ever have a hiring deal, it's tough. I get it. Like, I'm going out around to all different businesses, and I see the amount of help wanted signs out. They're desperately needing help. They desperately need people to be employed. But sometimes it's more difficult than just putting it out on your window and saying, hey, we're hiring. Well, that's when LinkedIn helps you out. It gets the biggest reach with the most qualified candidates to be able to have access to your hiring system. All you do is you add your job and then the purple hashtag hiring frame, and you can visit your LinkedIn profile and to get word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and who you'd like to hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hiring versus leading competitors. Visit LinkedIn Jobs and get you the help to find qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, final segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Some real quick nonsense I want to get into. So apparently at the SEC Media Days, you have to dress really nice, and that's been very uncomfortable. That's been very weird. I did not dress nice. This is kind of the stuff I've been wearing. And so it's been very uncomfortable and everything too. So, just a funny thing that's been going on there. And also, I apparently have to run real quick. So I'm having to end the podcast early. I apologize. But appreciate everybody listening into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter, BuzzJohnNabors, for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.